Let me open for comments or questions. I've got a few minutes if you guys do, and hear what your thoughts are. Yes, ma'am.
Governor, implementing Obamacare entrenches the law's countless subsidies, regulations, etc. And I'm wondering if you're considering following Governor Scott and Governor Parnell in saying that because we're part of the lawsuit in Florida, we will not implement any part of this law until which time the Supreme Court rules or the laws are returned.
What we have done, what I have said is I am not for Obamacare. I opposed it, voting against it. I opposed it in the campaign. I am part of a lawsuit opposed to it. We have won the lawsuit that we're a part of. That was the Florida lawsuit, and a Florida judge ruled against that. And so we're not going to implement anything of Obamacare that we don't have to do. And that's the position I've taken. That's what we're going to do.
Can you tell me why it is we're moving ahead with $31 million, and why is that we're moving ahead with taking money from the federal government, which is still tax dollars?
And Wisconsin did this. They took this money as well, and they're going to use it to make an exchange for them, but it's not going to be federally subsidized, and it may not, and it, in my estimation, will not qualify for a 2014 exchange under the Obamacare. If they're going to give us the funds to be able to set that up, Utah set up an exchange that doesn't qualify for Obamacare in 2014, but it's useful exchange for them and in their state, and that's why we want to.
It's actually not working very well. They only have 13 small businesses in it. It was just designed to be kind of an e-health insurance type thing. So it was not really designed to lower rates. The rates are very high in the exchange in Utah.
Well, it may not work here either. But if it's an exchange that we can do that fits for us, but these will, in my estimation, will not qualify for the 2014 exchanges that Obamacare puts forward. It was that part, we had a bunch of discussions internally about that. We had it with the Attorney General, had it with the Insurance Commissioner. Insurance Commission, the prior administration had applied for it, and had put it forward. And I said, I am not for Obamacare. I'm not for implementing this. They say you don't have to use it to implement Obamacare. Now, they want you to, but my view is we're not doing this to qualify for Obamacare. And there's been several other states, and that may seem a distinction without a distinction. I think it is a distinction. And we're going to continue to press the lawsuit, and we're not going to implement Obamacare. And I'm supporting the Republican initiative to defund Obamacare. And I think one of the best things we can do to grow the economy is to repeal Obamacare. But that was the discussion that took place. David.
Governor, the exchanges appear to me to be a lot like the connector that Massachusetts holds up as their great thing, and of course it's failing miserably. The insurance companies are losing money, and they're all nonprofit that participate in it. I was a part of a committee that fought our former governor 2 times ago, who's now Secretary of Health and Human Services, who tried to get a connector in Kansas. It seems like we're going right back to that, instead of letting the free market take care of what it needs to take care of in our state. So I'm a little concerned that we're pushing the exchange idea when it's already proven to fail in several other states.
Well, we cannot do what Massachusetts has done, and we shouldn't. We can't afford it. They can't afford it. And we've got to reduce our obligations, not increase our obligations from the public sector. But the hope is, again, as I answered previously, the hope that we're trying to do this is to create an exchange that could work at a state level without a subsidization, and maybe those two are mutually exclusive. That it doesn't work unless you do that. But we are not moving forward on implementing Obamacare, nor a Massachusetts-style system.
Governor, as you look at what's going on in Wisconsin today, what do you think is going to be going on in Topeka as you approach the same kinds of issues?
Well, I think you're going to get a lot of public discussion. Kansas is a right-to-work state. I don't believe Wisconsin is. Ohio is not a right-to-work state, and they've engaged that. So we're ahead of the curve. I'm a strong proponent and supporter of right-to-work environment. I think our probably engagement on a more aggressive level probably comes on the discussion of capers and what has to be done to fund capers and get to a system that is long-term sustainable. But you know, to date, we haven't had that level of dispute. I have had people in protesting the Arts Commission for doing away with the Arts Commission. What I did was we set up a private not-for-profit corporation to be the entity to raise funds and to match monies that we can use for an arts commission. I think it's a far better answer for it, but we're getting pushback on that. We haven't had the level of dispute yet. We're going to have a big engagement and discussion on K-12 funding in this state because it's half of the money and we got a big hole. You're going to have a big discussion on capers, and those are setting up now. It will be the two primary ones I think that you'll see.
Are vouchers part of that discussion? Vouchers on the education side?
The way vouchers are being, the question is, are vouchers a part of the education discussion? The way I view this moving forward is this year to look at what we can do to define the issue of suitability. And that's what I asked the House to define this year. What that does then, if the legislature defines suitability, it keeps the courts from defining suitability and using their authority to force the funding the way they want to see it. And the other side has often used the courts to force the funding into the system. So I'm trying to get, that's step one, getting the courts out of it so it's a legislative process to decide. Step two, I'd like to see us define what is a suitable education. The first suitability question is suitable financing, being determined by the legislation of the courts. Step two is suitable, what is a suitable education? And then that's what we fund. And that is a suitable education. And does it include everything we're funding now? And do we get a higher percentage of the dollars getting into the classroom? That's the step two. Step three is education reform. And you're going to see some of the education reform bills even coming forward now. They don't include what you're talking about yet. There is one voucher bill that I think is kind of an interesting one. It's on providing vouchers for parents with autistic children or special needs children, because those have been particularly difficult questions. And a lot of people say, well, that'd be a good way to start the discussion. Kansas is virgin territory on education reform. I think we ought to have alternate teacher certification around this. I think the tenure system is sure something we ought to be looking at a state. My oldest daughter, I'll finish on this vignette. My oldest daughter did Teach for America in Houston, taught 7th grade math, inner city Houston, which I don't think you ought to mix 7th grade and math. Some of these things that just, they don't fit together. She did that for 2 years, has now got a master's degree, applied to teach in Kansas. They said you cannot teach in Kansas. You got a Texas teacher certification, but you didn't take your 18 hours of pedagogical training to be able to educate or be a teacher in Kansas. You go, wait a minute, I taught 2 years, here's my test scores, here's this. I'm sorry, you can't teach. I've taught at K-State. I can't teach 7th grade, 8th grade freshman civics in Kansas because I don't have an education degree. I think I could probably add a civics discussion in high school. Jay back there might say, well, you can teach at K-State, but you wouldn't be qualified to teach in high school. Is that fair, Jay? But my point is, the way I'm going with this is on those steps and stages, because to do it otherwise, I don't think you're going to get as far down the road as you need to. We need education reform in Kansas. I think you've got to go on a sequential fashion. Yes, sir.
Has anybody taken a look at the 85 rule of Kansas? I mean, light of what our budget problems are. Does anybody take a look to see if that's sustainable in Kansas?
Yes, people are looking at that and the options now at that rule. I mean, everything's on the table. It's just, you know, in a legislative process, what I put forward is a series of issues that we have to deal with. I believe we have to deal with, but it's not all of what we have to deal with. And what I put forward initially is this is a budget that gets us to balance this year, which, by the way, we are $54 million underwater this year. This fiscal year, we are $54 million underwater. Last fiscal year, we ended up with $876 in the bank as a state. All right, that's the actual number. I'm going to have more money in the bank at the end of this fiscal year than $876. I think that's just crazy. So we put forward a budget to the legislature that would have $35 million in the bank at the end of this current fiscal year. That's a freeze, that's eliminating things, that's cutting positions, that's a series of items. But frankly, all we were able to propose in the interim period that I've been in 11 and 12 is to go at the 20% of the budget that's not K-12, higher ed, and Medicaid. That's roughly 80% of your budget. And we went at the 20%. Because these three are going to take structural changes. It's going to be a lot of discussions. We went at the 20%. And you're seeing that. But we have got to get, and we will put forward plans to get the rest of it. It's just, I think you got to build up to get at these to be able to get it notched, to get it done. There's no Russian saying that the slower I go, the further I get. And some value, some truth to that. Well, so we've got to grow this economy. This economy, nationwide, but in this state, has been way too lethargic for way too long. So that's why I put forward these ideas of no state income taxes for anybody that moves into the 40 counties that have had double-digit population loss. And saying from anywhere out of state you move in there, no state income taxes for 5 years. We've got to start putting forward really more aggressive ideas to grow things in this state because we're not getting there. And we didn't lose a congressional seat this time around. We will next time if we maintain our growth rates and the country maintains its population growth rates. And that's dependent upon us attracting capital. We've got to attract money that's investing, that's creating jobs in this state for us to be able to grow. We can do it, but we've got to get it done. I'm getting the high sign. Thank you guys for all of you. I really thank you for